Hi guys, so here we are again talking about coaching, and as always I'm here with Yannick and Sivash. And the question today is, how do you prepare for your coaching sessions? For
Yeah, let's do speed round, right? We're on a speed round.
Yeah.
Should we just kind of share each what we do to prepare? Rather than getting in a huge conversation, because I think we could talk about the values of it, but um, what I do is something I always do is I take at least a few minutes to just kind of sit with what's present for me. Whether you call it a little mindfulness meditation or just kind of becoming a bit still and kind of just observing your thoughts and emotions and your sensations, see if there's anything left from, I don't know, a dispute, an argument you've had with somebody, or a stressor of a deadline that you have coming up. Just notice what you're sitting with, what you bring into the session. I think it's so powerful because just breathe in and out deeply, just observe what's going on there. Because that stuff will affect you, and these things can trigger you, and you can ask questions from that position. So that's one thing I always do, to just sit with myself for a little bit.
Yeah, I do a very similar exercise. Like I take at least 10-15 minutes, create a bit of space. Something else that I do, I've been experimenting with this for around 6 months, and I think it's really powerful. I experiment with an identity, and I'm looking here at my whiteboard. So there's a few words there that remind me of the kind of coach that I want to be in that session, right? So powerful, fearless, present, and loving. And I just really slow down and think, what are the qualities that I want to bring to this session, right? And that's really helpful for me so a place to come from in that moment. And then sometimes during that session, when something comes up, I think, well, am I the most loving coach at this moment? And just really slow down to that.
Yeah.
Really
Nikki, what do you do?
Yeah,
What's one of the things you do?
as a general practice, what I have integrated to kind of support me with coaching is a daily mindfulness practice. And that's kind of just a ritual I do first thing in the morning. So that's like a 10 to 15 minutes of mindfulness. That kind of sets me up for the day. So I guess, my coaching preparation almost like factors in from the moment I get up. And then there's kind of a little inspiration slot, and I'm using this great platform that actually Sevash also referred us to once upon a time called Optimize. So I spend about 10, 15 minutes on that and just kind of get my inspirational juices flowing. And right up in front of a session, like in preparation for a single session, depends a little bit. Again, probably because I'm still newer to it than you guys. If there's a session where I anticipate I might have to prepare for a specific subject, like today, I was kind of trying to integrate some stuff from transactional analysis into one client session, having previously agreed and discussed that with them. So I kind of just brushed up a bit on my skills. So I will factor in then an hour before the session and give myself 10 minutes, 20 minutes, up to half an hour to prepare. But bang on half an hour before a session, I will stop whatever I'm doing. If it's nice weather, go for a quick walk just to be out in nature and like free myself up. And then like the couple of minutes before the session, I'll check in with myself and kind of try and remember what we talked about before. And then just have literally the last couple of minutes before the session doing either like 5 minutes of stillness, or again, I really like chanting. That's a practice I really like, mantra chanting. So just do a bit of mantra chanting because that literally forces my mind to be empty. So I kind of work with the whole presence.
Can you give us an example of that?
Of a mantra? I mean, there's one mantra that I have from a friend he's a Buddhist, and it's just a very nice flowing mantra. It's called Namyo Horenge-yo, or Horenge-kyo, it's sometimes pronounced. And I literally have it on YouTube, and I join kind of the group chanting. So it's just like Namyo Horenge-kyo, Namyo Horenge-kyo. And it's just kind of the sound and the vibration kind of really helps me to feel clear and tune in.
Interesting.
So that's how I roll.
That's super interesting. Yeah, interesting how we all do some form of kind of sitting with what's present. On a very practical level, I do review my notes. We had an episode on notes, so that's quite useful if anybody's working with that. But regardless of whether you're taking notes during the session, I sometimes do it during, I sometimes do it after, depending. You can learn more about that in the notes episode. But I like to go beyond, tune into what we've talked about. Bring the context back, perhaps even look at how do we started, review the contract that we've made in the very beginning. just look at whether I can make some connections or links. So it's like preparing for a session, but then let all of your expectations go and just be very present with the client. There might be something I'm curious about, following up on, this is your process as a coach. Some coaches always start with, what have you done since last time? Give me a little bit of a review. How have you been progressing on the actions that we set together? If that's the kind of coach you are, that's a good process, but other coaches will just kind of tune in and say, how are you today? Or just not say anything and let the client start. Or you might do the questionnaire you do at the beginning of every session. So I think it's really up to, I've seen so many different coaching styles with so many different processes. So there'll be a huge amount of different ways to prepare for a session. Some coaches put a lot of work into preparing for a session, and they put a lot of hours in for every hour of coaching that they do. But depends on your style.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's very useful, and I think for me, one of the key things from this is creating space. I've coached for years, not for years, but I've coached, at least in my first year, there's a lot of back-to-back sessions, right? And it doesn't serve you as a coach because you just become robotic. We need that on-off switch, right? I think even science proves that if you take 7 to 20 minutes off, you're much more present, you're much more productive. So it's really important to have that time off, whatever you do, whatever works for you, and just creating space, I think, is so important.
Cool.
Nice.
I think we can do an episode of what not to do before a session. Don't have, a heavy meal before a session.
Definitely. Oh,
I had a coach who said sometimes they drink a lot of water so that they can go to the toilet to have a break during the session.
oh wow.
And I'm like, you can just ask for a break during the session. That's okay if you feel it's useful for you and your client to have a break in a 2-hour session. You don't need to create a fake excuse, a real excuse.
Must be so uncomfortable.
By the way, that's a cool intervention, by the way. Sometimes I just like to take a break and go, I don't know, make a coffee, go to the toilet. You come back, the coachee has been sitting there with their thoughts. It's a really cool intervention because it almost always takes the coaching somewhere, just to remove yourself for a few minutes. But that's a different topic. Thank you. We said we're going to do a speed round. Nikki, you have shit to do. Let's wind it down here. Guys, I hope it was helpful to you. We'd love to hear what you're doing to prepare for a session. I'm sure there's lots of things that we could be doing, and I'm sure we've missed a lot of things that could be very useful. So I'm curious about what other people do. Thanks. See you next time.
Take care.
From you.
Hey everybody. If you found this conversation helpful for you and your coaching practice, then there's a couple of ways that you can support the podcast and stay up to date with future episodes. Obviously, you can subscribe here on YouTube if that's your jam. If you want to get it straight into your inbox, never miss an episode, there's a link in the description to sign up for our mailing list. You can leave us a review or follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and come join us on Facebook. We'll get the conversation going there. Obviously, leave us a comment. You can support us on Patreon. And any way you choose to do that, tell a friend, whatever you want to do. We really appreciate it, and we hope you get a lot out of it. So see you next time.